Welcome to Evo India's videos under lockdown. Today we have the Creta versus the Harrier. How does the new Hyundai compare against the big Tata? Let us find out. We start with the Tata Harrier. Now this is the 2020 Harrier with the updated BS6 engine. Not much has changed on the styling front, and honestly not much needed to be changed. The Harrier was one of the first vehicles to come out with these headlamps in the bumpers, and it still looks mighty good. Pratap Bose and his design team have done a fantastic job with the Harrier, and even though this is now 2 years old, it still cuts a striking shape on the road. In fact, when we did our test of this 2020 Tata Harrier, it turned heads wherever we went, and that is a remarkable endorsement of the design of the Harrier. Now these exhaust tips in the bumpers, those are fake, and that I think honestly is the only letdown to what is a really good design. Of course, in this 2020 Tata Harrier, they have reprofiled those wing mirrors, so now you don't get those massive blind spots. So it is much easier to drive, whether in the city or on the highway. And it is on the highway that the Harrier really shines. It's one of the nicest vehicles to take out for a long road trip. Moving on to the Hyundai Creta. Now I have said this before and I'm saying it again. This is a polarizing design. A lot will not like it, many will love it, but it cuts a striking figure on the road. Now it's got these 3 LED elements and full LED headlamps in the bumpers. Here too, it gets a dual tone effect. So this is lava orange. It looks red, but it is lava orange, and it is mated to a black roof and black wing mirrors. On the rear, again you get these 3 element LEDs, Creta written nice and bold across the boot lid, much like the Harrier is written nice and bold across the boot lid, and it gets proper exhaust tips. This is the 1.4 turbo. It gets proper twin exhaust tips. These are not fake exhaust tips. So 1 point to the Creta on this front. It runs on 17-inch wheels, but slightly smaller tires than the Harrier. The Creta gets 215/60 R17, while the Harrier gets 235/65 R17. The Creta, it runs on Nexen N-Priz tires, and the turbo variant gets these gunmetal grey alloy wheel design. The cabin of the Tata Harrier has not changed much over the earlier Harrier, save for better ergonomics, especially in the location of the USB. Now this has got all black interiors, and crucially, the Harrier finally gets an automatic gearbox. This is a Hyundai sourced 6-speed automatic that works very well, and it also gets drive modes. Let's listen to it.
Wet mode activated. Rough road mode activated. City drive mode activated. Economy drive mode activated. Sport drive mode activated.
Whether you like it or not, you will be hearing these commands every time you switch between different modes. Now the Harrier is only front wheel drive, so basically all these off-road modes only alter the ESP intervention and the throttle responses, also a little bit of the gearbox. Can you see the handbrake lever? Well, that is aircraft inspired, but it is not the most ergonomic piece of design in the Tata Harrier. The Harrier has got a lot of space. Now the wheelbase is 2740 mm. It is also longer than the Creta at 4600 millimeters, and it gets this huge panoramic sunroof that is claimed to be the largest sunroof in its class, even larger than the Hector, and of course definitely larger than the Creta. This sunroof lets in a lot of light and air into the cabin and makes it seem even more spacious than it already is. The Harrier has a big boot at 425 litres, but on this front, it is surprisingly the Creta that is ahead with a boot space of 433 litres. Moving to the insides of the Hyundai Creta, well, this does look better, does it not? This turbo variant gets all black interiors with red accents on the aircon vents. It also gets a 10.25-inch touchscreen that works much better than the Harriers, and this turbo variant gets a 7-speed twin clutch. Of course, the diesel Creta also gets an automatic gearbox. There are cushions for the rear headrest that add to the comfort factor, but the Creta is not as big as the Harrier. The Creta's wheelbase is 2610 millimeters and the length is 4300 mm. So it is smaller than the Harrier, but what it lacks in space, it makes up for in comfort and in equipment. Now, stuff like this. This is an AQI index and there is an air purifier in the center armrest. The Creta also gets a big panoramic sunroof. Now, of course, it's not as big as the Harrier, but it is big enough to be honest. And it does make the Creta's cabin seem slightly bigger than it actually is. Now, the Creta is comfortable, it is better put together, and it has more equipment than the Tata. On the engine front, the 2020 Tata Harrier has now been upgraded to the full 170 PS. So that means 168 bhp and 350 Newton meters of torque. Also, the engine has better NVH, so it is more silent, it is more refined, it is definitely more powerful, and it makes the Harrier much nicer to drive. As for the Creta, well, you can get it with the diesel. The diesel, it makes 113 bhp and 250 Newton meters of torque. But if you are an enthusiast of driving, you can opt for the 1.4 turbo petrol engine with 138 bhp, 242 Newton meters of torque, and it is guaranteed to put a big smile on your face along with that 7-speed twin clutch automatic gearbox. As for the Harrier, it has got that excellent Land Rover based platform that gives it superb handling and very good ride quality. So potholes, bumps, bad roads, nothing stops the Harrier, and you can flatten everything in its path. The Creta, well, you have to be a little bit more circumspect over bad roads, but when you find corners, that's where the Creta really comes alive. And finally, let's come down to the prices. Now, between the diesel automatic top-end variants of the Creta and the Harrier is a full 3 lakh rupees more expensive. But for that additional 3 lakhs, you get more space inside the Harrier, you get a more powerful diesel engine, you get better ride and handling, which is far better suited to our Indian highways. As for the Creta, you get a lot of options of powertrain. So you get a naturally aspirated petrol, you get a turbo petrol, you get a twin clutch automatic, you get a normal automatic, you get a CVT with the naturally aspirated petrol. So a whole load of variants and options to choose from. It might also boil down to the styling. Do you prefer Pratap Bose's Impact 2.0 design of the Harrier or Hyundai's sensuous sportiness? So finally, you got to decide whether the styling swings you, whether the pricing swings you, whether you need a bigger car, whether you need more options. This is our spec comparison test. Once the lockdown lifts, we will hit the road and we will bring you a proper full-fledged comparison test. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and keep watching our channel for more videos. Subscribe to the Evo India channel and hit the bell icon to keep pace with the thrill of driving.